Dr. Charles Stacy, and he's one of the folks that was responsible for putting this museum together, I think, and was around in '48 and remembers what it was like then, and can give you a lot of good information about this.
There's one of our associates, Diane Martin.
Hi. Diane, hi.
If we were telling the lurid history of Denora, she would be one of the top sitters there. Okay, come on around.
He's a card, believe me.
Let's start over here. Come on, don't be bashful. Now, believe it or not, there's only one community in the world that has the name Denora, and you are here. You're right there. Now, the reason is that it was named as a combination, a melding of two names. The gentleman there on the left is William Donner. William Donner was an industrialist who went to Andrew Mellon and said, I'd like to build a mill somewhere along the Monongahela River to produce products and sell them to Andrew Carnegie's mills further down the river. And Mellon was interested in this, and he had a company called the Union Improvement Company. Henry Clayford was a part of it and so forth. They had a lot of money. So they found out that this was pretty much undeveloped area. And so they bought the land and started to plan for a mill. Now, they had to have a name for the community once it was incorporated. So they were going to name it Meldon, M-E-L for Mellon and D-O-N for Donner. But the Mellons didn't want that. So what they decided was to get Andrew Mellon's young wife, 20 years his junior, an English girl by the name of Nora McMullen Mellon, and they took part of her name. So it's Don for Donner, Nora for Nora, and Donora. That's the only one in the world, although there's a street down in Florida with that name. Probably somebody from this community took it down there, and supposedly there's a little park up in Ontario, Canada with that name. More than likely somebody from this remarkable community was able to do it. But now you people are interested in the smog. Now if you look behind you, we have some newspapers of the smog, or the time of the smog. It was a terrible, terrible thing. Now, let me tell you what happened. On the last week of October, 1948, we had a little fog in Denora. It was something was not out of the ordinary. It was smoggy or foggy here all of the time to time. And people in Denora never thought anything of it because they learned to live with it. Now, this was a little bit different because normally the fog would burn off later in the day, or winds would pick up and blow the fog away. But this didn't. It lasted. It started Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday it began to dissipate. It was extremely dense. I was a senior in high school at the time. I lived down in that end of the town where I still live today, near the zinc works. And walking to school, literally, you put your hand out and you couldn't see the tip of your fingers. Couldn't see the street lights, couldn't see the traffic signals, and you had to be very careful so you wouldn't fall off the curbs as you were walking along. Tremendously dense. But once again, the whole world lived in conditions like this. Nobody thought anything of it. We didn't know, however, that a lot of people who had breathing problems were calling the doctors, or visiting the doctors, or going to the hospitals. And the town was generally unaware or maybe oblivious to it at that particular time. On Thursday night of that week, there was a big event, the Halloween parade. Now, see, remember, this is before television times, and you had to have some sort of entertainment, and so parades were always a big thing. This is the main drag, McCain Avenue, and of course, the parade came down McCain, and there were people on both sides of the street. But I stood on this side of the street, and I couldn't see the people on the other side. I could barely see the marchers in the parade. But once again, who thought anything about it? I believe it was that night that I went home and turned on the radio and heard Walter Winchell. Walter Winchell was sort of the Bill O'Reilly of that time, somebody who liked to, exaggerate things and spread a little bit of horse manure around. But anyway, Bill O'Reilly said, people are dropping dead, they're dying in a little village town called Denora in Pennsylvania. I said, hell, I live here, and I didn't see anybody dropping dead. But apparently, people were being rushed to the hospital. People were seeking the aid of the fire company, the police, the doctors, and so forth. Turned out to be sort of a tragedy. Friday and Thursday night, Friday, and into Saturday were certainly the worst times because this had persisted for such a long period of time. And then, of course, there was the big football game on Saturday afternoon. Many people say you couldn't see the ball or anything. That's malarkey because the football field was on top of the hill, and of course the fog was not nearly as dense up there. We don't like to talk about that football game because we lost the Monongahela that day, and that rarely happened. If you lost the Menneson, that wasn't too bad. But losing the Monongahela was terrible. Who's the great hero from Monongahela? Come on, you're all young people, you know that. Didn't you tell him that, Don?
Oh, I did.
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana.
Right there. By the way, interesting story. Joe Montana's first wife, he's on number 3 now, was from Denora, a girl named Kim Moses. Have any of you ever seen the TV program Ghost Whisperers? Well, Kim Moses is the producer and director of that show, a Denora girl. Her father owned the Irondale Hotel, which was right across the street, which isn't there anymore, which is now the PNC Bank. But anyway,